first talk, Sarah Ames, Digital Scholarship, Data Provenance at the National Library of Scotland.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Sarah Ames. I'm Digital Scholarship Librarian at the National Library of Scotland, and I'm currently just a few months into setting up a digital scholarship service. And it's got 5 main objectives, and today I'm going to talk about number 4, which is to practice and promote transparency in our data creation processes. So we're currently working on making our data collections available, and at the National Library of Scotland we've got a big in-house mass digitisation programme underway at the moment, which is producing huge amounts of OCR text and also many thousands of images every single day. And so the large focus of our data collections will be on this. And we're currently working on the practicalities of how to make this available, but while we're doing so, we're also thinking about provenance. So we want to make sure that our readers understand where our data has come from, what processes it's undergone, and why it exists in the first place. But how to do that in an area that's got few existing standards is a challenge. So at the National Library of Scotland, we want to make sure that our data collections are as rich and as interesting to the data historians of the future as our print collections are to book historians now. So we're currently working on contextualising our data collections. So as well as providing the usual technical metadata alongside our data collections, we also want to provide information about the decision-making process behind why something's been digitised. So why has it been selected for digitisation, what funded it, where was it digitised, and so on. And we're hoping that this will enable researchers to place our collections in a clearer context, and also to add value to our collections in the longer term. And it also helps us to embed freedom of information into our data creation processes. And all of this, I think, feeds into bigger questions about the responsibilities of libraries. So libraries have traditionally been acquirers. We've purchased items in, or they've been donated to us, and we then make them available. But with this shift towards digital, we're increasingly seeing that libraries are becoming producers of our own collections. So at the National Library, for example, we're not only producing huge amounts of OCR text as data, but we've got data coming off the scanners, we've got data coming off the digital production tools, we've got data coming off the OCR software, and we're now packaging all of this up and making it available as our own collections. So to end a very short talk on a very broad question, what are the responsibilities of libraries as we increasingly become producers of our own collections? How do we contextualise our own processes? How do we convey information about how and why and where our data is being produced? And how do we make sure that libraries retain their position as a trusted source of information when we're producing that information ourselves? So I think transparency here becomes really important, and that's why we want to be really clear and open about how and why our data has come about in the first place. But then standards are also a challenge. And I think there's real opportunities here for the library community to come together and think about how best to convey this kind of information in a new library landscape of big data. Thanks. That was really quick then.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thanks.
Now we're going to pass the microphone quickly. Quickly. This talk is called Data Stewardship on the Map, Study of Tasks and Roles in Dutch Research Initiatives. And I will locate the slides very quickly. There it is, right there. And we did figure out, F5. It's F5.
Yes, there it is. Well, I'm Melanie Imming, and I'm going to use my now 3 minutes to point you to a very interesting report that we've been working on in the Netherlands. The Dutch National Coordination Point for Research Data Management is a collaboration of almost 200 experts on research data management, and they work on topics that they think need to be discussed on a national scale or even international scale. The thing that we wanted to look at was we wanted to have more insight on what the different research institutions are asking and implementing for data stewards. And a lot of people in this group were from research libraries in the Netherlands. We did all kinds of things, a survey, interviews, etc. And the thing we came up with is, if you really want to have this insight in order to create more, better data steward job descriptions, also looking at the different expertise you need for the different domains, you really need to know more. And the reason that this is so important in the Netherlands is because a lot of the institutions are looking into expanding the number of data stewards, and especially the domain data specific data stewards. And then we came up with this idea that it would be better to focus on task areas instead of roles, because you see some sort of natural divide between generic data stewards, very often based at the libraries, and more domain-specific ones. And that's a bit strange, because we found that the generic or the operational or embedded or domain data-specific data steward does not exist. So if you make sure that your function profile is really broad, and then you work on having very good task lists with all kinds of tasks which are important for the different domains, so also from the humanities. You can make sure that you can get very sort of focused support. And you might say, you're overcomplicating things with all these task lists, etc. But on the other hand, if you make sure that the different data stewards work together in a pool of data stewards, it makes it easy to collaborate with all these different experts. I'm running out of time. Please go to Zenodo if you want to know more, because there's lots of other information in this as well. And what we really need, because the next step is that we want to work on all these lists, and we know that there are international initiatives as well, to have people on board from the humanities to make sure that they are covered as well. Because in the Netherlands, most of the life sciences, etc., are rather far advanced, and they're doing cool stuff, but we need to make sure that we are involved in this as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. You did it. I think our next one is online. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I also have her on Skype if we have any questions.
I'm here to tell you about the forthcoming collaboration guidebook for library-faculty partnerships at the University of Virginia. My name is Jennifer O'Brien Roper, and I co-authored this presentation with Carla Lee and Kara McClurken. The University of Virginia Library has been collaborating with faculty to create innovative digital scholarship for 30 years. From early projects such as the Valley of the Shadow to 3D scanning of the built environment, we have worked closely with faculty to develop tools and projects that expand the way our users can understand and interpret the world. Each year, the number of legacy projects increases, and the work to innovate remains. Maintaining access to digital projects over time can be a huge investment of time and labor. Written agreements from past projects are scarce, and sometimes expectations for perpetual support are high. Additionally, in the past, all units supporting a project may not have had a chance to provide input on project requirements. The results sometimes led to frustrating experiences for library and faculty alike. By late 2018, staff across the library sought communal agreement to a series of questions relating to the library's responsibility for long-term maintenance, access over time given technology changes, balancing resources spent on legacy projects and new content, and coordinating resources while meeting faculty expectations. We envisioned a different approach, one that emphasized project planning and documented agreements for collaboration, that would focus on developing and managing the scope and expectations, determining available resources, and coordinating the work of multiple units. We assembled a group with representation from across the library, including library administration. In short, our goals were ensuring that projects included review and feedback from all library staff with potential to be involved, articulation and documentation of shared expectations, and achievable outcomes with scalable maintenance. The backstop on the process is the requirement of administrative approval before work begins. We discussed many possible solutions, including more rigorous development and use of Memoranda of Understanding, or MOUs. This line of thought led us to the 2016 MOU workbook created by librarians at the University of Texas at Arlington. Due to the Creative Commons license terms, we were able to use this full text as our starting point, as editing would be more achievable in a shorter timeline than creation from scratch. Within 2 months, we had a full draft of a UVA guidebook completed, and we offered it up to our library colleagues for feedback. After incorporating feedback, we created a Confluence site to communicate best practices, including the MOU workbook and a library of existing agreements. This repository is not limited to digital project agreements or indeed to agreements we authored. The legacy documents do not always follow the newly articulated guidelines. For example, there are a fair number that do not include a date for review or completion. We are currently working on a set of templates of preferred agreement wording. We are working to complete this site by late summer and will also be developing a process for annual review of MOUs. Thanks for listening. We invite feedback and questions.
We are speeding along here.
So I have her on Skype. If there are any questions, I can ask her. No? Okay. No questions.
Okay. This is project proposal for the training of Cuban librarians of Digital Humanities Research. And we have Suelma Rodríguez Roche.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm here to present a proposal for training Cuban librarians in Digital Humanities Research. And you know, everybody knows that Cuba is like this. Beautiful, we have amazing beaches. It's an amazing country to live and to go on the holidays, but it's also amount of beautiful cultural documentary, and it's a beautiful amount of cultural digital heritage we need to preserve and we need to organize, and digital humanities can help, and librarians must be the lead in the digital transformation in Cuba. We have this Spanish heritage with British heritage, African and Chinese around the country, and they have to be organized and preserved also, and they are distributed around the country, and most of the libraries cannot have the tools to preserve, digitize, and preserve all this important cultural heritage. So our project is an idea from the University of Havana, from my academic research group, Humanidades Digitales y Ciencia de la Información, Digital Humanities and Information Science. And we have this idea to empower libraries in Cuba, spreading the DH culture, the DH research culture, and we are planning to do that by training all the librarians around the country. We do this research, we did this research using bibliometric methods and general statistics methods that about trying to identify the content needs to create this programs of this training program for the librarians, and we identified the content curation, online learning systems, digital projects management, programming for research, design technologies, digital academic edition, and digital research. And the first stage of the project, we are planning to develop these training courses in 5 different provinces around the country. In Havana, Isla de la Juventud, Villa Clara, Camagüey, and Santiago de Cuba. We are talking about around 100 librarians trained, and that's only in our first stage plan. It's our first year plan. We are now trying to find the right funds to do that, but in the meantime, we are doing this from the University of Havana. Every month we have created this open session for training. Everyone are invited in Havana to come with us. So the 5-year plans is to let the librarians begin a real process of transformation in the cultural and information institutions in Cuba. So thank you very much. And we are all invited to come to Cuba.
Great, thank you. Our next presentation, Building and Sustaining Fulcrum. Is it another?
It's another virtual one.
Okay.
Hello everyone, this is DiPasquale, the Community Manager for Fulcrum. I'm going to spend a few minutes today telling you about our platform that we've developed at the University of Michigan and what we are trying to do for scholars in the digital humanities and social sciences. Fulcrum is an open source community developed digital publishing platform that focuses on supporting enhanced ebooks. And what we mean by that are ebooks that incorporate a lot of media, including images, audio, maps, into a long form monograph. As I said, it's been developed by Michigan Publishing with support from the Mellon Foundation. And really, we built this platform to fill a need we noticed in the field, which was the inability for folks in the humanities and social sciences to really integrate this really media-rich research with the text that they were developing. We're committed to publishing this scholarship in accordance with our values, which are flexibility, durability, discoverability, and accessibility. This is an example on the top right of our e-reader, which you can see here is a title from our University of Michigan Press ebook collection, and there's an embedded video which you can click out to, and you can see that in our lower left-hand corner here. You can link out to these media objects that are pulled from our repository and interact with them a little bit more closely. You can read the transcript, get the citable link for each individual object, and take a closer look at the metadata for that individual object. The features of the platform include an EPUB 3 reader optimized for mobile devices, accessibility, compatibility, preservation, EPUB 3 PDF and MOBI downloads, titles with enhanced multimedia, zoomable online images, embedded audio, video, and images, as well as a metrics dashboard including counter statistics. We also offer a number of publishing services to help folks get their publication ready for the platform. To be clear, we are a hosting platform, not an authoring or publishing platform. That work lives with the development team at the University of Michigan, but we do help folks who need help with these services to prepare the publication to be ingested to the platform. We also offer a number of hosting services to match the needs of the folks we are partnering with, including single title hosting, which would be a one-time fee for one project, hosted publisher, which we host Leverpress as an example, and then a hosted collection model, one of which is the University of Michigan Press ebook collection. I'm more than happy to set up some individual calls and talks with folks, so please feel free to email me here, or you can find out more at fulcrum.org, where you can take a look at some of our partners, or on Twitter at FulcrumPub. Thank you very much.
And finally,
Finally,
we have,
Dolores Romero.
yeah, it's
No,
this, okay.
okay. So thank you for being here. I am a researcher. I am a professor in Complutense University, and I'm going to show you how we have created a digital library. Our digital library is called Nemocine. I didn't write it in English. I wrote it in Spanish. If you want to look for it, you just need to type Nemocine like that, and UCM, which is our university. So our digital library is for rare and forgotten texts from the end of the 19th century to the and the beginning of the 20th century. And we have created collections and digital editions as well. Our objectives are select, categorize, and make visible in digital format literary texts that belong to a forgotten repertoire in order to allow the historiographic review of the period. To be a field of international lab for the creation of interoperable semantic networks. Generate, innovate research and theoretical reading models for literary texts. and to be in contact with other projects to share data and metadata. We have created this tool, Clavi. Clavi is a rich internet application that is able to import, preserve, and edit information from collections of digital objects so as to build bridges between digital repertoires and create collections of enriched digital content. Clavi also provides a basic system of data visualization, edition, and navigation. And Clavi facilitates the import, export, and edition of records in multiple formats, such as MARC21, as well as their integration into Nemosini pre-designed model. So we need 3 stages. The first one is the data import process, bibliographic records, mainly MARC21 from HathiTrust Digital Library, Google Books, and Biblioteca Nacional de España. The second stage is the data adaptation. We collect and clean the imported data. And the third stage is the data enrichment process to add specific data regarding authors and works. So this is the data in progress. We have more than 1,000 writers, more than 100 illustrators, some of them women, some composers, almost 200 women writers. The number of references are 4,000, and the number of books digitized are more than 1,000. And in our library, we also have created collections. We've got these collections, which are very important for us because we see the data in a different way. Till now, we didn't talk about Spanish women writers of this period. And thanks to the digitalization of this data, we see that many of these authors were female. So we have created intellectual women collection, Spanish women writer, translator, children literature, kiosk literature, science fiction literature, and so on. And also we have created a specific metadata. This metadata is for the collection of women translators. And this is how the digital library looks like. And the results are an interface designed, fair data and metadata, data modeling, open access. We have designed the collections, and we also have digital editions from PDF to interactive or bilingual. And we are also to develop this, the standard metadata for research and the digital literary history. Thank you.